What's going on, everybody? Well, like I promised, today's the day. We are doing my full Blu-rays and movie collection video. Now, one thing you should know is I've just recently started collecting Blu-rays, so although I've got a few, the majority of the movies in this collection are made up of old school hard copy DVDs, and there is quite a few movies to get through, so I'd say no more hesitation, let's get started. Alright, first up we got Alien, Aliens, and Alien Covenant. Now, I don't have any of the other Alien films, no Alien 3, no Alien Resurrection, no Alien vs. Predator, or Alien vs. Predator 2, because I don't like those films, and I know there are people that are sour on Alien Covenant, but for me personally, I liked Prometheus, and I'm such a big Alien fan that I had to have this. I enjoyed the movie, I had a complete blast with it, I thought it was complete, gory, scientific fun, but that's just me. And in all honesty, what can't be said about the Alien films that haven't already been said? Aliens is an action film masterpiece, and Alien, it's one of the best sci-fi horror films ever made. Arrival, also known as the film that turned me on to Denis Villeneuve as a director, and it's one of my favorite sci-fi films of all time. Atlantis: The Lost Empire. Avatar, yes, I know it is very, very overrated, but I still marvel at the filmmaking, at the way the CGI looks, at the storytelling, and although it did copy plots from other movies, I still have a lot of fun with this one, and I can't wait to see what the sequels are going to be like. And now we go straight into my collection of MCU movies, starting with The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man, both a DVD and Blu-ray cover, Iron Man 2, and yes, I know, I'm not really the biggest fan of this either, but there are a lot of elements that I do enjoy in it. For one thing, big fan of Iron Man, big fan of Robert Downey Jr., and what he does in this movie is, they tried to do a simple character arc, and it was just sloppy. It's enjoyable. I mean, as a superhero fan, that's all I want for when it comes to this movie. And now, what's possibly the greatest superhero film ever made? The Avengers. This is in my top 5 favorite superhero films. I know it's in debate to be the best superhero film. Not personally for me, though. It's probably like number 4, but still, the way all of this stuff came together, all the Avengers, all their individual movies, and how many years of expectation, 4 years of build-up, and this led to such a perfect gathering of some of the greatest heroes of our time. Iron Man 3, don't really consider this an MCU movie, more of a Shane Black movie, but still a great movie overall. Ant-Man, Avengers Age of Ultron, Captain America Civil War. What can I say that hasn't been said about this movie? What the Russo brothers did, coming off of doing sitcoms, coming off of doing Community, which in my opinion is the funniest show that was ever made, besides Key and Peele, of course. I love that show. But what they did here is show not only their range as directors, but also how well they can show conflict and how beautiful of a movie they can make. If you haven't seen Captain America Civil War, even if you haven't seen any other MCU films, this is definitely one worth checking out. Doctor Strange with my boy Benedict Cumberbatch. And Spider-Man Homecoming. Whew, alright, now that the MCU movies are over, let's move on to The Big Sick. Also my favorite romantic comedy, not just of this year, but since When Harry Met Sally. I love The Big Sick, and it's a great movie for sure. My Big Fat Greek Wedding, Book of Dragons. Now, I know some of you are going to be like, Cody, why the heck do you even have that in there? It's not even a movie. I like How to Train Your Dragon. I don't know how to say it. I love How to Train Your Dragon, and this was a disc that was kind of in a bundle pack, and I just had to have it. Now let's move on. The Star Trek Borg Fan Collection. Honestly, I consider every single episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, or Star Trek in general, to be just a 1-hour short movie, because every season is just film quality acting. Too bad some of the Star Trek movies didn't turn out too well. But this series, this Borg collection, if you're a Star Trek fan, you need to have it. Becoming Jane, also known as the movie that made me check out Anne Hathaway and James McAvoy, because they were truly magnificent in this romantic film. Alright, now on to this side, starting with Baby Driver. Edgar Wright, honestly, I know there are a lot of people who like Hot Fuzz, who like Shaun of the Dead, who like The World's End. I enjoy those films too, but Baby Driver for me, I guess it's the Edgar Wright film I have been waiting for such a long time. The story, all the characters in it, you guys know I love it. You've seen my Buddy Baby Driver analysis, and if you haven't, there's a link in the description to go check that out. You know I love this movie, and it is very near and dear to my heart. Doc! Back to the Future trilogy. What can be said about this that hasn't already been said? In fact, I don't think I can say anything about it, but if you haven't seen Back to the Future, what have you been doing? The 4 collection of Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin. Now, to be perfectly honest with you, I do not watch Batman Forever, and I do not watch Batman and Robin. I've seen both of those films once, and I hate them. I despise them. Batman and Batman Returns, though, what Tim Burton did with those films is really, really great. Lots of fun, lots of charisma from the actors. Batman Returns is definitely more of a Tim Burton film and less of a comic book movie about Batman, but still just a great, great, enjoyable film. Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. Now, I know some of you are going to be like, wait, so why do you have The Dark Knight on Blu-ray and Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises on DVD? Don't ask me that question. I'm working on it. I genuinely, truly am working on it. I'm trying to get all my movies converted into Blu-rays or to just pick up the Blu-rays themselves. But as it is right now, I've got The Dark Knight on Blu-ray, the others not. But what I can say about the Dark Knight trilogy, it is in my top 3 favorite trilogies of all time. How Christopher Nolan took Batman, this larger-than-life character, and brought him down to our level to make him more realistic. I am surprised every single time I watch it. And of course, who can forget Heath Ledger's phenomenal Oscar-winning performance? A Beautiful Mind, Beautiful Creatures, Because of Winn-Dixie, that's from my childhood. Casino Royale, Skyfall, also known as having some of the best action scenes and the best grittiness in a film ever. Casper, once again from childhood. Catch Me If You Can, and A Christmas Story. Who doesn't love A Christmas Story? Oh, poor Ralphie. Alrighty, moving on. Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, also known as the best Narnia film in my opinion. Just the performances and everything else in here. Tilda Swinton, Liam Neeson as Aslan. It's just a very heartfelt, very powerful, very spiritual movie, and I love it. Deepwater Horizon, Despicable Me 1, Dinotopia. Now I probably should explain myself when it comes to this one. This is a TV movie that I watched when I was younger consistently. It's 4 hours long. I tried getting through it once a couple of years ago, and I just couldn't do it. But it has Captain Cold in it from The Flash, so there's something, I guess. Mrs. Doubtfire, R.I.P. Robin Williams. This was one of your best performances. Dragon's Gift of the Night Fury. Now, this is just a very, very cute addition to the How to Train Your Dragon series. It doesn't even really impact anything. It's just a cute little TV movie, and I enjoy it. You should work on run-on sentences, because The Edge of 17 is next. Like I've already said in my Q&A, like I will continuously say, this is my favorite coming-of-age film. I know people love Ferris Bueller's Day Off and The Breakfast Club. I love those movies too. But this one just hit home for me. The performances, Woody Harrelson especially. I had a teacher like Woody Harrelson in this movie, and I love her to death. Shout out to Mrs. Madden. If you're watching this, you are a rock star. Edge of Tomorrow, 8 Below. My name's Buddy the Elf. What's your favorite color? Elf. Like I've already said, I can't say any more than I did in my review. This is just a really, really strong, heartfelt, and great Christmas movie. Ender's Game, E.T., one of my all-time favorite Spielberg movies. In fact, you know, after going through so many Spielberg films, after watching all the masterful work that he's done, besides Jaws, this might very well be my favorite Steven Spielberg film. Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness. Now, I can't really speak anything about these movies as of yet. I haven't had the chance to watch them. But what I will say is thank you to my great buddy Zach Pope for sending them to me. Finding Neverland, you know, it's just really great to see Johnny Depp not be some kind of a Tim Burton weirdo. Run, Forrest, run! Forrest Gump. And, like I said with Spielberg, Robert Zemeckis, what you did with this film, sir, is masterful. Forrest Gump is such a timeless classic. French Kiss, a cute little romantic film. It's not really all that special, though. 2 copies of Footloose, the 2011 film, and the original film with Kevin Bacon. Honestly, I do enjoy this film, but let's be honest, the classic with Kevin Bacon, it's just one of those films you never forget. And as me, somebody who likes to dance, somebody who loves music, and doesn't want to ever be put down by the man, this is a film that speaks to my heart. Let it go, can't hold me back anymore. Frozen. Yeah, I know. There are people who don't like this movie. There are people who are annoyed by the songs in it, particularly Let It Go. Me, I'm not one of those people. I love the Let It Go song in here. And I love this movie. I keep coming back to it every year. It's just phenomenal. The Great Gatsby. And now what I consider to be one of the smartest films this year and a phenomenal directorial debut, Get Out. I've loved Jordan Peele ever since he's been on Key and Peele. I have seen every single one of those episodes, every single one of those sketches, and I had no idea he had the possibility of creating such a masterpiece of a film. This film has so much to say about today's age, about racism, about the way people interact with one another. If you have not seen this film and you're a little held back because it's a horror movie, believe me, even if you don't like horror movies, this is a movie for you. Godzilla. And the Gospel of John. Yeah, look, this is pretty much the entirety of the New Testament all round up into, 3 discs. And it's a ridiculously long runtime. I enjoy this because of the cinematography and the performances and everything in here, and because it tells a pretty powerful story of Christ. But it's not something that I can go back to over and over again. It's mainly because it is extremely long and extremely drawn out. The Green Hornet, very underrated, very funny, and Seth Rogen does such a great job in this film. Hacksaw Ridge, my favorite war film since Saving Private Ryan, and probably the most inspirational and powerful story from last year. I love this movie, and you should check it out. And here comes some of my favorite saga films, so let's get to it. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1, and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Love these movies, love the books, read the books every single year because it has such a great story. J.K. Rowling is such a phenomenal storyteller, and all the movies within this series are great and phenomenal, which is not something you can say about pretty much any series of movies that has gone on for so long. The Help, Hitch, The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies. Now, to be perfectly honest, I'm not too fond of this one. I think the battle sequences and the performances are all great and they're all cool, but it does tend to drag on quite a bit. And, I mean, in all honesty, I don't know why they decided to turn this small, insignificant book into 3 movies. But I still have fun with every single one of them, and like all the Harry Potter films, I will watch these films every single year. And now for possibly my favorite films of all time, Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Okay, let's just be perfectly honest here. Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, it is the best of the bunch. It is the perfect cap of the trilogy. The movie is just so well made. There's no surprise why it won 11 Academy Awards, and I don't believe any film has done that in quite a long time. How to Train Your Dragon, How to Train Your Dragon 2, The Imitation Game, phenomenal Benedict Cumberbatch performance, Inception, probably the smartest and maybe even the best film of this decade. The Incredibles, and we're finally getting The Incredibles 2 after how many years and how many stupid trilogies that should have never existed. Incredibles 2 is almost here, but if you haven't seen The Incredibles, this is a film you should check out. Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Insidious trilogy, It's a Wonderful Life, Jaws, the Jurassic Park collection, and that is Jurassic Park, The Lost World, Jurassic Park 3, and Jurassic World. And I know, Jurassic World is cheesy. It's over the top. It's an 80s cheese fest. But I'm a giant Jurassic Park fan. The King's Speech, one of my all-time favorite dramas and very heartfelt movie. Some other girl and guy would love this swirling sky, but there's only you and I. And I'm very glad because La La Land. You guys know this is my favorite movie of last year. It still is. I can't count the number of times I have watched this movie over and over again. I saw it 6 times in the theater, and I love it. I mean, as somebody who's a creator and knows how difficult it is to pursue your dreams, this is a movie that just spoke to me on every level. Alright, let's jump back into it. The Land Before Time, Les Miserables, probably my favorite Hugh Jackman performance, even though I know he's great in Logan. What he does in here is phenomenal. And the fact that most of it, 99% of it, is sung, it impresses me. And I love the musical. I love this movie. It just captured the essence of what I love about this really heartbreaking story. And I mean, come on. Anne Hathaway, she is phenomenal. Little Women, Marley and Me, also known as the film that makes me cry like a baby every time I watch it, The Martian, Madagascar, Minority Report, very underrated Steven Spielberg film, Mission Impossible, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, and Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. Now, I don't have Mission Impossible 2, and I don't have Mission Impossible 3, and that's simple, because I don't like those movies. I know I'm in the minority when it comes to Mission Impossible 3, but that movie bored me senseless. I thought Philip Seymour Hoffman did a great job as the villain, but honestly, the entire film, it just kind of put me to sleep. Miracle on 34th Street, classic Christmas movie. Moana, Moneyball, The Muppets Take Manhattan, Night at the Museum, Polly, Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest, and Pirates of the Caribbean At World's End. Now, don't worry, I do have Curse of the Black Pearl around here somewhere. I just couldn't find it. I think I may have let a friend of mine borrow it. I still need to get it back. But honestly, I know people are down about these movies, and I will agree. These films have a lot of problems. These two do. The original Pirates of the Caribbean Curse of the Black Pearl is a great movie, and it's one that got Johnny Depp an Oscar nomination, which, I mean, that's incredible. These two films, though, they relied way too much on Johnny Depp's weirdness, and I mean, they're a big letdown, but I find them enjoyable. Rise and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and War for the Planet of the Apes. All of these films are great. I think Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is still my favorite. I love War for the Planet of the Apes, and I know it is a masterpiece of the film. One thing I had to say about it, though, it is very long, and I just watched it with my father a couple of days ago, and there were some parts that I felt drug on a little bit, but overall, this is a masterpiece of a movie. I highly recommend any of you who haven't seen it. It's a very deep, dark character piece. It's a revenge story. It's very much like Unforgiven. This film is John Connor for Apes is probably the best way to describe Caesar for sure. Pocket full of miracles. Just watched this one fairly recently, and gotta admit, it's funny. It's hilarious. I laughed. It cracks me up. And that's all I gotta say. The Polar Express, another timeless Christmas movie. Not Robert Zemeckis' best, but still a really fun movie. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. The Princess Bride. Honestly, there's nothing I can say about this movie either. This movie is phenomenal. It's timeless. It's a great fairy tale. Ocean's 11, not Ocean's 12, and not Ocean's 13, because in my opinion, those films are not good. Over the Hedge? Now this is childhood, and this is a guilty pleasure all the way. Rango. Secondhand Lions. Robots. An enjoyable movie, but, kind of generic. Alright, let's chug along like Thomas the Train. Real Steel, very, very surprising movie. I remember when this came out in 2011, there were so many people that were skeptical. People were like, it's gonna be a Rock'em Sock'em Robots movie. It's gonna suck. It's gonna be awful. But it turns out to be one of the most emotional and amazing experiences that many people, including myself, had in the movie theater. Shark Tale, I'm not going to say anything about this movie because it is just way too much of a guilty pleasure. And the family double feature of A Little Princess and The Secret Garden. Really, really great, small indie films, but honestly, they say so much. Sherlock Season 2 and Sherlock Season 3. Sherlock Holmes: A Game of Shadows. Now, I don't have the first Sherlock Holmes movie because that film didn't really impress me, but what impressed me the most is that Sherlock Holmes: A Game of Shadows, it doesn't rely on the previous Sherlock Holmes film. This is a really great movie in its own right. Shrek 2, my favorite Shrek film. I'm still working on getting the original Shrek, but this one is funny and it's an absolute blast. Snow White and the Huntsman, The Sorcerer's Apprentice, The Sound of Music, Spider-Man 2, Spirit, the Stallion of the Cimarron, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, Star Trek Into Darkness. Now we move on into my Star Wars movies. Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I don't have The Phantom Menace, and I don't have Attack of the Clones. I know I probably should as a Star Wars fanboy, but I cannot sit through those movies. Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. I know there are a lot of people who do not like this movie. I find it to be thoroughly enjoyable, and I find it to be a very, very important story inside of the Star Wars universe. The original Star Wars trilogy, A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, and The Empire Strikes Back is still my favorite of all the Star Wars movies, though that might change this coming week. Star Wars The Force Awakens, great characters, great character development, a great overall story inside of the Star Wars universe, and it's my favorite film since The Empire Strikes Back. Steve Jobs, Great job by Danny Boyle, and a phenomenal script by Aaron Sorkin. Super 8, Season 1 of Stranger Things. Honestly, I do consider this show to be a movie, because it's one of those things, you watch episode 1 of Stranger Things, and I know I was hooked. I didn't want to stop watching it. It is an 8-episode, an 8-hour movie, and it is phenomenally well done. And I mean, look at this case. How can you not love the retro feel of this? It's phenomenal. 3 Men and a Baby, Toy Story, Transformers, the first Transformers movie. This is a movie that I watch again and again every summer because it is a very fun, semi-well-made popcorn movie. T-Rex to the Cretaceous, VeggieTales of Snoodles. Now, raise your hand if you were raised on VeggieTales. Yeah, me too. I am your beloved Count Olaf. A series of unfortunate events. One of my all-time favorite Jim Carrey performances. This movie, I have a feeling if Jim Carrey did not work as well as he did, this movie would not have been as fun to me as it was. Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Warm Bodies, What Women Want. Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. What else do I have to say? X-Men First Class. X-Men. X-Men 2, X-Men United. The Wolverine, X-Men Days of Future Past, and now, one of my all-time favorite movies of this year, Logan. I can't speak praises about this movie enough. It's so different than any other superhero film I have seen since The Dark Knight, because it's a Western. It's a very unforgiving setting for our beloved Wolvie and his claws. You know, the redemption that he gets in this film, it's incredible. If you haven't seen Logan, I highly recommend that you do so, because this is a film. It's a powerful, powerful movie, and it should be seen at least once. Young Frankenstein, one of the funniest comedies ever made. And finally, Zathura. Whew. And we did it, you guys! We got through my entire collection of movies and Blu-rays. You guys have been asking for a while to see the movies that I have on my shelf, that I keep on my shelf, that I watch from my shelf. And now you have. There you have movies that I love, movies that I adore, even the guilty pleasure movies. But guys, after all this is said and done, it is what you say that matters. So I want to know, how many of the movies on this list have you seen? Are there movies that you think I should see that I haven't seen? Or are there movies from this shelf that you haven't seen and you want to see? Whatever you may think, whether you've seen the movies or you haven't, leave those comments down below so we can get a conversation started and spread our love of the movies and everything cinematic. And once again, thank you for everything that you guys do. And if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right there and subscribe and become part of the fray of nerds who love cinema. You all have a fantastic day.